You may have heard of my tale. It's a story about God's love, mercy, my disobedience, and the question of what makes a good God. My name in my native tongue means dove. You may know me as Jonah, and I was to be the one that brought peace to a people I wanted destroyed. Throughout my life, I was told about Nineveh, their wickedness, turning against Yahweh, worshipping idols, and sacrificing their children to the fallen. That's why I fled, turned around, and slammed the door on Yahweh's orders. How could I go? How could I go to Nineveh? How could I? They're pagans. Preach repentance? No. His mercy. Grace. He'd forgive them. They must pay for their transgressions. The pain, suffering that they brought to the Hebrews, I delight in their destruction. And so, as I was instructed, I boarded a ship. But instead of heading to that great city, my ship was heading in the opposite direction, away from my Lord to Tarshish. At first, all seemed well. Nothing seemed out of place, for I had been on many boats, ships, vessels, living on the coast since my youth. But I was a fool to think that I could outrun Yahweh's will. He was just waiting for the stars to align, see the calm in my pride, bitterness to grow. It is written that the one who breaks a hedge, the serpent bites. Or I guess in this case, the fish gulps. Ironically, the sea calmed and the stars aligned when he had sent a great wind on it. The waves started crashing, pounding, twisting the foundation of the ship, almost shredding it. No, he could have shredded it, but he held mercy on me, on Nineveh. And so, as the crew was shouting, crying, pleading to each one's own God, I laid asleep in the chambers of the ship with the cargo. I awoke to the captain, begging me to call on my God, for theirs had abandoned them, for they had walked away with deaf ears. And I knew I couldn't do that, for I was far from him. But as much as I tried to hide, separate myself from him, he wasn't far from me. They casted lots to see who angered the gods, who brought this judgment upon them. The dice rolled, and stopped, pointing to me, insisting that I tell them who I was, served, angered my people, and what land I left. One word could sum it up: Hebrew. I am Hebrew, and I have run from the one who blew man from dust and life from void. Yahweh, the God whose ears have not been sealed shut, and whose mercies never end. Why have you done this? They asked. What will become of us? For the storm only worsens, and your disobedience will lead us to death. Yahweh, show mercy. Mercy. You said he was a God of mercy. Perhaps we can turn the ship around, bring you to that great city to save our lives. No. Never. I'd rather die. Cast me overboard, for this judgment's my own. I must die for my sin, and Nineveh for theirs. Then the storm will cease, and you will be spared. No, we cannot. We cannot have your blood on our hands, for if we destroy God's vessel, how much worse will be done to us. So seeking for land, trying to dodge the wrath of a just God, they rowed. I insisted to tell them to just throw me overboard, that their effort was in vain. If Yahweh was going to claim my life, he was going to take it. They refused, hoping that there was another way. But the depths cried out for judgment. The waves grew stronger, and the sea overtook the boat. The ship began filling with water as the abyss tried to drag it down to swallow it. The men cried out then looked at each other, pleaded to Yahweh not to be charged with innocent blood, and then tossed me overboard. The sea calmed. I awaited my destruction. At least my disobedience led those men to Zion. For the crew had turned away from the deaf ears that had abandoned them, and made vows to Yahweh. Treading water, I watched as the ship sailed away. Endless horizons, my judgment was sealed. There was only so much time I could procrastinate. My legs would fail. I would sink. My lungs would fill. And then I would owe a response from my bitterness to my Lord. Never did I think I would live. I was foolish then, but I know now that his mercies truly never end. Not to me, not to Nineveh, for he had other plans, and he was going to complete them, one way or another. There was a gulp, and then a splash.